Quick question. Put your hand in the air if you've ever given one speech in your life. Should be everybody. Okay? Keep it in the air. We're going to start dropping hands. Okay. If you think, just rough estimate, have you given more than 100 speeches in your life? Drop your hand. Okay?
More than 100?
Excuse me, less than 100.
So you define your terms.
Yes. Less than 100. Day 5 of talking all day, every day.
What is speeches?
Okay, now let's up the ante to 500. If you have given fewer than 500 speeches in your life, put your hand up.
I've given that many to my husband.
A speech requires an audience. Doesn't exactly count. Okay, now how about 1,000? Who's given more than 1,000 speeches? How about 2,000? You're probably on the edge, right? Why is he on the edge? Why is his hand in the air? Well, because he's a speaker and a debater. The average speaker, let's just say, out of the 5 events that you could compete at a tournament, which is typically the individual event maximum, let's just say they pick 3, because impromptu is easy, and then they have a scripted speech of one type or another. Maybe they work with a partner, or do one of the other limited prep speeches, like Mars Hill or Apologetics. They're going to have 3 preliminary rounds, and then possibly go to out rounds. So let's just go ahead and say, on average, they're going to give around 10 speeches across all of those speeches that they enter. Then in a debate, they're going to give 3 speeches every debate round, and there's typically 6 preliminary rounds, and if they break to out rounds, they might have anywhere from double octafinals all the way through finals, assuming they go on and on and on. So you're looking at an average of per tournament, speakers give around 75 speeches. If you go to 5 tournaments a year, start to do the math on that, and you'll realize that I've probably in my lifetime, over 10 years of speech and debate, and then all the other public speaking I do because of that, I've probably given over 10,000 speeches. And many of the students of speech and debate do that as well. That doesn't make me great at speaking. That's not the point. The point is this. Over on the other side of the building, people are talking about national security surveillance policy, the 4th Amendment, privacy. They're talking about the letter of the law versus the spirit of the law in federal jurisprudence. They're talking about communities' moral standards, and they're talking about freedom of speech. You can't talk about things that matter more. In speech and debate, people are developing patterns of thinking and helping others make decisions thousands of times about the most important things. If you have a practice ground like that, and you can cultivate habits of thinking and habits of your soul like that over a period of years, there can be nothing more impactful to your life if in your life you make decisions and you help others make decisions. And I would argue that that's all you do all day long, all the time, whether you're speaking publicly or not. And that's why speech and debate isn't about public speaking or debating. It's about who you become, or it can be. And really there are 2 schools of thought when it comes to communication. This holds true not just in the speech and debate community, but out in the world as well. There are skills, like can I stand here confidently, project into a room, have eye contact, use my hands without seeming weird, those sorts of things. That's what most of us think of as speaking. Maybe even we'll throw in outlining a speech in there. We should probably have an introduction, body, and a conclusion, the bluff, the glim, and the blop. Those are things that we all think of as public speaking. But the school of thought that said we study these skills and then later we'll figure out what to say is the opposite of what we want students to learn. And that's why we're here, that's why we do this, is because there's another school of thought. It comes from Aristotle and it's practiced by the greats of rhetoric. It says, in order to have something worth saying, first you have to think well, and you have to learn practical reasoning, and you have to learn wisdom, and second you have to learn to listen. And there's not enough listening in our world today. And so what we're all about, and what we think that students have the opportunity to be about in ways that really change the world, is to be listeners and thinkers. If they are those things, then it is worth teaching them to speak, because they have something worth saying. And so we're traveling the country to try to help more and more people be part of that. And we don't just do it with students too. Quarterly I go down to the Leadership Institute and I coach politicians who are running for office and campaign managers in how to debate. I've coached Toastmasters in how to debate. What about debate is unique? The answer is this. There's a huge difference between teaching someone to give a speech, which you're about to hear a speech, and speeches are great, and a debate. Because most of us, if we go to any form of higher education, do at some point have to give speeches. In fact, for my major, strategic intelligence, giving a briefing was the final. We always had to give some sort of briefing, and there was this critique. That sounds intimidating to some of us, but it's far more intimidating to have to give a speech that someone has to argue against, and you have to go in depth and respond to that, and then they're going to respond to that, and you're going to have to respond to that, and they're going to respond to that, and you're going to respond to that, and that's the end. 4 levels of refutation is a team policy debate round, and it takes about 1 hour and 15 minutes. The level of thinking and listening required to do that is far greater than the level of thinking and listening required to come up and sound good one time when you give a one-time speech. There's nothing like it. Really, there's nothing like it. So at Nine Lenses, when I just want to tell you a story, I hired my first intern there 2 years ago named Josh Scow, who was a sophomore in college. He did debate in high school, and the first week on the job, we were giving a presentation on a data set to a CEO in Colorado. We were in Virginia. We were in 2 different places in Virginia at the time. And the data set was about it was a business 360, end to end, all of the top challenges that this company faced and the things that their 150 employees recommended ought to be done about them, including executive alignment and misalignment, flaws in the strategy and operation, complaints about elephants in the room, and the whistleblower zone. The whole gamut. My phone connection wasn't working, and I was the primary analyst, and my intern was there to see what this is like. Well, I said, Josh, you're going to have to do this. And so in his first week on the job as an intern, he had to present to his CEO the flaws in the CEO's company. And he aced it. He has bedside manner. He took the responsibility of a doctor informing a patient they have cancer, which is not fun. But you have to do it. And this company did have cancer. And now Josh, 2 years later, presents to and runs executive offsites for Hewlett-Packard, where 1,000 people or 5,000 people on a multi-hundred-million-dollar account are committing revenue on the basis of his analysis and presentations. That's nuts. That doesn't happen. We have several high schoolers now who intern there and contribute to these analyses, and every intern at the end of summer gets to present to a real client, which is either a CEO of a small business or a high-powered executive at a large business like General Electric, IBM, or Hewlett-Packard. Few people get to speak to those types of audiences before they're 40. And we have high schoolers and interns in college doing this on a regular basis. They're debaters. That's crazy. It really is crazy. But there are plenty of high school debaters that I have known and seen and observed. As a Patrick Henry College debate coach, I was in charge of recruiting, and I had several principals there. There are people that have applied to our company that I flat would not hire because of how they pursued speech and debate. And so what Gary and I are doing is we're trying to help people see that the way you pursue speech and debate as a skill that benefits you, or as a discipline of the soul, is very different. And so when I go coach politicians to debate, what they expect is a bunch of skills. And what they get, and I keep getting invited back, which I never expected, is learn to listen better, shut your mouth more, admit you don't know, love your enemy. The best speakers and debaters love their enemy. And that coincides with everything that we believe. So we founded an organization very recently called Order of the Rhetor, and that's kind of what's going on at the national level, is we are going from coast to coast. We've just had camps in Colorado, Florida, Virginia, Delaware, other places. We've done some in Singapore before. We work with Koreans. What we're trying to do is say, you know what, if this is really more than a skill, it's really a lifelong habit and a lifelong way of thinking. And we want to challenge people to have the ability to level up and be recognized, not for their skill and prowess at winning, but for their dedication to wisdom and dedication to putting others first through rhetoric. Like Claire said, rhetoric is classically thought of as the subjectless subject. That means it applies to medicine, to geology, to sciences, to all arts, to everything, to personal relationships. The first day of camp, a dad walked out of here saying, "You've changed the way I think about personal relationships because of the framework that you taught from Aristotle around how listening and interaction with another human is done." We want to hear more of that about lifelong learning. So Isaac's not a master of speech and debate, and neither am I. I don't think you could be a master any more than you can be a 5th degree black belt without a lifelong dedication to mastery. And that's what we really want you all to be on board with, is helping people over their lifetime become masters of mastery itself, the process of mastery. And thinking like rhetoric, from first well-ordered thinking and second delivery, we think is the way to do it. So that's what I was here to say. Any questions or comments?
Do you have your presentation just gave us like on YouTube?
No, I just made it up just now.
It's brilliant.
Yeah, you got a YouTube
I would love for
page.
my husband to hear this.
We have a YouTube channel from camps this summer with now almost 150 videos of us teaching on it, because Gary helped fund somebody to do this. And these are the types of activities that we're looking to have other people help us fund and do. Is right now in the speech and debate world, there are small organizations that either make their bread and butter off of speech and debate, meaning they have to charge a lot of money for people to come to camps like this, like $500, $600 for a week. And their thinking is their intellectual property to some extent. That's their business's competitive edge. We don't do that. Both he and I have day jobs, and we want more people to have access to great thinking like this. And so he funded a videographer to come and video all of our 2-week Patrick Henry College debate camp. And we put that up on YouTube now so that other people can access this type of thinking. And we just want to know more of that.
Cameron? I just recorded what you did.
Oh, you just recorded that? I did not give my prior consent, sir.
What did you give your consent now?
I give my consent.
Thank you so much. Gary?
Okay. So am I supposed to turn the floor back to you?
Okay, I think